Here's my list of the 5 reasons why I think the GL20 has totally disrupted the 30-year-old used grand market in a way that few other new pianos have ever done. So reason number 1 has got to be the tone. This instrument produces a super complex and a really well-structured tone right across the range. And that is not something that's particularly typical of an instrument that is in this 5'2" length. So if we're talking about the mid-range, so in the mid-range of this instrument, you have a ton of bloom, a lot of sustain, and extremely well-structured complexity. And when I'm talking about, well-structured complexity, you think you're talking about wine, but when you hear the note and you're hearing all of the harmonics that are kind of sustaining and blooming at about the same rate, and you can actually pick out the differences in some of those mid-range harmonics versus the fundamental and how that's balanced with the top. It's really well balanced, well structured tone. And honestly, brilliant sustain. The other thing is that sweet spot isn't just confined to those octaves. As you go right down into the bass transition, very, very subtle transition from your steel strings into the copper, which is also really nice. And there's a number of reasons why people look for larger used pianos, but almost all the time it centers around 2 things, which is the action and the tone. And so on that first point, you've got tone, which is going to fool a lot of people's ears into thinking that you're playing a more expensive, larger piano than what you actually are on the GL20. Now, contributing to that tone is actually a ton of cabinet resonance. And this is one of the areas where the GL20 kind of excels over and above, say, the GL10, is that there's a tremendous amount of cabinet resonance happening virtually across the range. And some of this is because of the rim material, some of it is because of the stretcher bar. But either way, you've got not just the soundboard, but the rest of the wooden structure of the piano really contributing, I would say, an outsized proportion of the tone compared to other instruments of this price range. You can feel it really across the stretcher bar, and if you get underneath and hold those beams, there's a lot of vibration occurring there. Third reason here is also tonally related, which is that it has a duplex on this instrument that actually works. Now, duplex on higher level instruments where the tolerances and the level of finishing time in the factory is really high, I mean, you expect duplex to actually be an active feature. But when you get down into sort of the $20,000 range or sub $20,000 range and you see duplex on there, you have to be aware that in some cases the piano hasn't been built to a tight enough tolerance where the duplex scale is even really going to necessarily activate in an even way. and duplexes that extra little length of string, which sympathetically vibrates. It kind of adds an extra resonance to the string. And so I don't find so much that I hear a big difference in the very top octave between, say, it and the GL10 or other similar sizes. It's in the second octave and an octave and a half down from the very top where it's very evident. There's a thickness to the specific attack that's there. Adds sort of this maturity to the whole sound rather than feeling like it's a little pingy or a little thin in that top register. Next reason is I didn't suspect that the small difference in bass string length was really going to make as big a difference as it actually did between it and, say, the GL10. And what I find the practical result is that I get a lot of clarity almost an octave lower than where I stop getting good clarity on the GL10. The test I tend to use, not that you'd ever do this musically, is, what's the lowest triad that I can actually hear with my ear without cheating or without trying to fool myself. And in this case, I can get almost down to the lowest, or I can get down to the lowest A flat major triad. Pretty well right on the line where like the overtones are really starting to overtake the fundamental, and it's hard to make out once you get down to that G. But the A flat is still pretty clear. And for sure, if you're comparing to other 5-foot, 5'1", 5'2" instruments in this category, from Kawai, Yamaha, Pearl River, Samick, anything like that, you're going to be challenged to get that kind of clarity that low in the keyboard. Next, the key action on the GL20 honestly feels like you're playing a 5.5-foot, and maybe even if you were comparing it to a lighter 6-foot piano, this action is giving you a similar sense of inertia, depth, and dynamic range. And in addition to the tone, that's one of the biggest reasons why you're going to hear a lot of teachers promote the use of a larger piano, because you're going to have a better repetition speed, you're going to have a greater sense of that dynamic range and your ability to control it with an action like that. These have those extended key stick lengths and all of the geometry that gets slightly altered to accommodate that longer key stick length. And as I said, I really honestly didn't think that we would have as many people on this size in this category paying as much attention to that as has actually happened. So to finish things off, let's give this instrument a good play, and then we'll finish with some final thoughts. We hope you've enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for tuning in. If it's the first time that you've seen us here on YouTube, thank you for stopping by. And please consider hitting that subscribe button and the notification bell. We love this ever-growing community of piano lovers and piano aficionados that are joining us from all over the world. We love hearing from you. Please leave a comment. My name's Stu Harrison. Until next time, take care.